right. Good afternoon. I am Deborah Leibowitz. I am the provost here at Quinnipiac University, and I am very pleased to declare the 2022 commencement for Quinnipiac University's Frank Netter School of Medicine officially open. All right. Please stand for the national anthem, which will be performed by Anush Kalikian, class of 2023.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
All right, please be seated, and thank you, Anush. All right, so I'd just like to take a moment to recognize the members of our platform party, which consists of our commencement speaker, who you'll meet in just a moment, and university administrators, the dean, and the president of our alumni board, and representatives of the university administration, in addition to a member of our board of trustees, Rick Silver. So it is my absolute pleasure to be able to be here today and help celebrate your remarkable achievements. And with that, it is my pleasure to introduce Dr. Judy Olian, who is the president of Quinnipiac University, who will offer remarks on behalf of the university.
Good afternoon and welcome to our graduates of the QU Netter Medical School of 2022. Yay. Today's one of my all-time favorite days of the year. It's a day that fills me with tremendous pride and joy because we get to celebrate you, our graduates, and your amazing accomplishments as we mark one of the most special and unforgettable ends of a chapter in your life. I want to welcome our esteemed guest and speaker, Dr. August Fortin, the sixth, an internist and professor of medicine at Yale School of Medicine. We are so grateful that you joined us today and that you will share your wisdom and life's work with all of us. Dr. Fortin will be introduced shortly. Now, I'm going to ask our graduates to rise for a moment and turn to the audience to give thanks where thanks are due. To your loved ones, family, and friends, and give them a huge round of applause. We all recognize mom and dad, grandma, grandpa, siblings, friends, that you were there for your student through thick and thin. Stay standing because I have one more thanks that I think you want to give. Let's give a warm round of applause to our terrific faculty and staff for all they've done throughout your journey at QU in offering an exceptional learning opportunity during your time here at QU Netter. And I know many of them will remain your friends and mentors for the rest of your lives. So now you can sit. So to our graduates now, you made it, you have arrived. I congratulate every one of you for devoting yourselves to this most noble calling, the practice of medicine that serves others first. The vast knowledge and expertise you've honed over the years in medical school has prepared you, no doubt, for the complex intellectual and human challenges of the practice of medicine. To acquire such detailed knowledge of the mind and body in order to be able to be a competent medical doctor required you to process and connect massive amounts of information that actually few fields require. And I say that having gotten a PhD in something else, and I still think you did more. But on top of that, you have a distinction that few medical school graduates possess. The humanistic values that you internalized through your unique interprofessional training at QU Netter have given you a much broader lens with which to approach the holistic care of patients and compassion for their physical as well as their emotional needs. This is the end of a long and impressive journey for you and the beginning of a new exciting and daunting chapter. As doctors, you'll touch numerous lives in profound and often life-changing ways. You'll sometimes solve a medical puzzle because you see patterns that connect seemingly disparate dots. You will extend to those who are sick and their families understanding and kindness when they are overwhelmed with health challenges. Whenever possible, you'll offer hope in the face of despair. You've chosen a career that is more than a job. It's a calling that will imbue who you are day and night. I'm confident that your time in class, in simulation labs, in rotations and clinical assignments, and learning alongside our expert faculty has prepared you extremely well. But you also now bring with you into your medical career a very unique perspective, a set of lived experiences from these last few years that position you to be exceptional physicians and individuals. As you weathered a pandemic where the medical profession was in the proverbial bullseye, you've become quite familiar to pivoting on a dime with tremendous resiliency, engaging firsthand to support stretched medical resources, juggling complex family needs, adapting to new models of learning and technology, and appreciating the importance of relationships and personal connections. And those experiences undoubtedly have had lasting effects, some of which are continuing, others just becoming evident to you, to us all. You had to discover within yourself inner strength, adaptability to unprecedented and unrehearsed medical conditions, creativity in addressing community and family challenges, new sources of joy and opportunity. You became even closer to your family and to friends who might have lived with you, and you showed compassion to others, often to strangers, in the face of painful losses. There's a quote that I gravitate towards these days that says, "Experience is a cruel teacher. It gives a test before presenting the lesson." Experience is a cruel teacher. It gives a test before presenting the lesson. You were certainly tested. We all were, actually. But you passed with flying colors, with grace and courage. Now it's incumbent upon us to take what we've learned and apply it not just to our own journeys, but to consider the predicament of others, of the entire planet. And there is an urgent need to apply those life lessons today as we watch with deep sadness as a war rages in the Ukraine, as the global effects of climate change cause growing devastation, and as we witness the long emotional and societal impacts of the pandemic. You've already revealed while at QU that you're caring members of communities far and wide. You lent your efforts to food sorting, packing and delivering to homeless shelters, senior centers, and other need-based organizations across Connecticut. You mastered not just your bedside empathy, but also your webside empathy, offering your expertise through telehealth channels to expand access to care. You staffed a crisis hotline to help people experiencing emotional crisis and volunteered to community health clinics to provide free health screenings, education, and acute care. You created a new app that helps emergency room physicians treat patients with musculoskeletal issues. And alongside this pro bono assistance in communities, you found time to manage a challenging course and clinical load and to produce scholarly work. That's why I'm confident when I say that you are prepared as expert, humanistic physicians. As I close, please know that as you go out on your life's journeys, you will always, always have a home here at QU. We hope you come back often, stay connected to QU Netter, to the university, and even more, become a mentor to a future Bobcat doctor who can learn from your own career journey. You are joining an alumni community that is 60,000 strong, and I encourage you to take advantage and connect to that powerful network. All of us at Quinnipiac will follow your path with great interest. We'll unabashedly brag about your successes, and we will beam with pride about the great impact you're having in the field of medicine and in the life you lead. Congratulations to the class of 2022, a class where each of you is a Bobcat for life. You have already made your mark, and we cannot wait to see how you continue to change the world. Congratulations.
All right, so thank you, President Olian, and it is now my pleasure to open up what is the main event here. You guys ready? You're graduating, you know. I expect to hear a little bit more. Come on. Yeah, exactly. That's right. That's right. Okay. So it is now my pleasure, after riling up the crowd a little bit, to ask the Dean of the Frank H. Netter, MD, School of Medicine, Phil Boisel, to come forward and to introduce the commencement speaker.
Well, good afternoon. As Dean of the QU Netter School of Medicine, it's my pleasure to again welcome the class of 2022 and your honored guests. Before addressing our graduates, I'd like to take a moment to recognize those who have been instrumental to the success of our school and to our graduates, including members of our affiliate hospitals, including their leadership teams, our QU leadership, including President Olian, Provost Leibowitz, members of the university's Leadership Council, and Board of Trustees members, including Trustee Rick Silver, who has joined us today on the platform. Please join me in a warm round of applause for these individuals. And most importantly, I would like to also again recognize our dedicated faculty and staff at the Netter School of Medicine. This is one of the most incredibly student-centered communities I've ever had the privilege to be part of, and we are so fortunate, and I know each of our graduates is fortunate, to have benefited from the incredible mentoring and teaching from our faculty, and as well as the close communications from our staff. And now to the class of 2022, congratulations. As members of our 6th graduating class, you've faced unprecedented challenges amid the pandemic, and you've met them with an admirable combination of grace and grit. Indeed, you've been challenged like no other class before you. And yet, it's a commendable way in which you've met this challenge that has defined you. As Dr. Martin Luther King said, the ultimate measure of a man or woman is not where he or she stands in moments of comfort and convenience, but where he or she stands at times of challenge and controversy. Flash back to spring of 2020, when your medical educations were abruptly altered by the COVID pandemic. Your response to this challenge was to extend your energies outward toward meeting the greater needs of our community. As members of the Netter's COVID-19 Student Volunteer Corps, you devoted thousands of hours of community service, crafting masks, volunteering at food banks like Loaves and Fishes, and supporting the homeless at New Haven's Columbus House, among other activities. And amid this crisis, many of you spoke out individually and collectively to address racial health care inequities that were amplified by the pandemic. You also condemned social injustice, racism, discrimination, and bias in all its forms. Beyond that, you helped to educate one another and our entire community through the Netter Health Equity Speaker Series. As you begin your future careers as physicians, I challenge you to continue your work as change agents for healthcare equity by working to eliminate racial bias and to proactively address the social determinants of health for your patients and your future communities. Sir Winston Churchill said, "One should never let a crisis go to waste." In reflecting on the challenges this community, our nation, and our world have endured since March 2020, there are many lessons that will transcend the pandemic and inform your future personal and professional lives. There are lessons about individual sacrifices and lessons about teamwork, lessons about loss and lessons about living, lessons about grieving and lessons about healing, lessons about our eyes being opened to longstanding inequities, and lessons about having the courage and conviction to name and address them, lessons about hope, and lessons about the critical importance of our connection to and with one another. Along these lines, I encourage you today to remember the important personal and professional connections who helped you reach this important milestone. Thank your parents, your loved ones, your classmates, your mentors, the faculty and staff at the QU Netter School of Medicine, and all of your surrounding community. Foster these relationships and maintain these connections in the future. You are entering a world in dire need of compassionate, equity-minded, humanistic, and team-based physicians. As graduates of QU Netter, I know you are well prepared to meet this need as you fulfill our school's mission of promoting wellness and patient-centered care for all members of society. On behalf of the entire faculty and staff at the QU Netter School of Medicine, I wish you all the best in your future careers as physicians. As you go forth today, you are ready to serve and ready to lead as humanistic physicians. Good luck and Godspeed. It's now my pleasure to welcome our Senior Associate Dean for Education, Dr. Luba Quinnipiac, who will introduce our commencement speaker.
It is my distinct privilege to introduce our commencement speaker, Dr. August H. Fortson VI. Dr. Fortson is an internist and professor of medicine at the Yale School of Medicine, where he directs communication skills education and the psychosocial curriculum for the Yale Primary Care Internal Medicine Residency Program. Dr. Fortson is an internationally recognized educator for his work to improve clinicians' communication skills and patients' experience of care. He has delivered communication skills workshops at medical schools and large health systems in the United States, Europe, and Asia. Dr. Fortson graduated from Brandeis University and Tufts University School of Medicine and trained in internal medicine primary care at Bellevue Hospital and NYU Medical Center before serving in the U.S. Navy. He obtained his master's degree in public health from the Johns Hopkins University School of Hygiene and Public Health and completed a fellowship in internal medicine at the Johns Hopkins University School of Medicine. He is a master of the American College of Physicians and a fellow of the Academy of Communication and Healthcare. Dr. Fortson has had a great impact on the practice of medicine. He has changed how we communicate with patients by teaching a generation of clinicians and medical educators to practice, model, and teach humanistic, patient-centered care. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Fortson.
Well, good afternoon. President Dolian, Provost Leibowitz, and Dean Boiselle, thank you so much for inviting me to speak today. And thank you, Dean Quinnipiac, for your lovely introductory remarks. I'll say it's hard to follow the inspiring words of President Dolian and Dean Boiselle, but I'll do my best. I also want to welcome the distinguished guests, the families, the friends, and most importantly, the graduating class of the Frank H. Netter, MD School of Medicine. This is your day, and I hope that you are feeling the pride and joy of this momentous occasion. It makes me think back on my own graduation many years ago. But again, I'm honored, very honored, to have been asked to speak at QU Netter, to be asked to speak at a school with such a focus on patient-centeredness and such a focus on education. It really is inspiring. And of course, being named after Dr. Netter, the physician and gifted artist who really saw patients and from whom I'm sure you learned anatomy, and I know I learned anatomy looking at those green-bound books in my first and second year of school. His humanistic anatomic portrayals still stick with me and resonate with me. And I read the commencement program, and I look out at this class, and I recognize that you represent diversities that will matter very much to your patients. For when patients can see themselves reflected in members of their healthcare teams, that is important medicine by itself. So congratulations. Be proud of your diversities and know that they will serve you well in your profession. So I'm a general internist, a primary care doc. I like to call myself a comprehensivist because I think I can take care of most everything that walks through the door. I've had an interest in the intersection of medicine and psychiatry because over the years I've learned that about half of what I actually do in clinic is more on the psychiatric side than the biomedicine side. And that has served me well as well. I'm also, as Dean Quinnipiac mentioned, very interested in healthcare communication, on how doctors and patients can interact better to provide better health and better outcomes, and less burnout as well. And you may or may not know that I'm co-author of Smith's Patient-Centered Interviewing, which is the textbook you used in the first year of medical school. So I'm really glad to be here. Thank you for using the textbook. And I must say, having mentioned it, that all the royalties of the sale of that textbook go to the Academy of Communication in Healthcare. So I don't have a dog in that fight. So I appreciate your using that book. I hope that I strive every day to put those patient-centered communication skills into practice for the betterment of my patients and also for the increased joy in my own profession. And I really have come to believe that these communication skills are in fact the most important medicine that I dispense on a day-to-day basis. And like any good medical talk, one has to include a case. So I'm going to share with you a case from a recent day in clinic. I work in a federally qualified health center caring for patients who are underserved, multi-morbid, and have many social determinants of poor health outcomes. It's a challenging population, but one that I feel very much called to serve. I walked in to see a new patient who had just moved up from South Carolina, and the chief concern on the chart was hip pain. I walked in the room and very quickly realized that I am a middle-aged white man, and he was a middle-aged African-American man. And I know of the justifiable history that leads to mistrust, justifiable mistrust among many members of the African-American community toward the healthcare system, particularly when care is delivered by a white doctor. And so I used my skills and leaned into my patient-centered communication skills, set an agenda, and said, I want to hear what brings you in, and I hope we have some time to talk about health maintenance. I see that you're overdue for your colonoscopy. And he crossed his arms even tighter and said, I'm not going there. I said, I understand. Tell me about your hip pain. And I leaned in and I listened, and he told me about his hip pain and how it limited his life and how no one listened to him. And he'd been to urgent care centers and emergency rooms and got dismissed and discounted and not cared for. And I nodded and I listened and I empathized with his frustration. And I said, I want to be a different doctor for you. I want to be a doctor who can earn your trust. Let's work on this together. I took a careful history, did a careful physical exam. And at the end, as he shook my hand, I was blown away when he said, Doc, I feel like I just hit lotto. I think my heart skipped a beat at that moment. And then he said, and sign me up for that colonoscopy. So for the rest of that day, the clinic lights somehow glowed more brightly, and the colors in my drab exam room were brighter. And I think I walked a couple inches above the frayed carpet of my clinic. So indeed, this medicine of showing up for another person and of listening and seeking to understand is powerful, powerful medicine. I'm going to share something radical with you. You think you're about to graduate from medical school, but indeed, you're about to graduate from love school, L-O-V-E. Now that may raise some eyebrows, particularly from the parents in the audience who were paying tuition for love school, but I'm not talking about eros or erotic love. You probably learned that in extracurricular activities. I'm talking about agapic love, agape, big love, because indeed the practice of medicine is the practice of love. It has to be, or it doesn't work. Have any of you become aware of the Healer's Art course here at QU? Any show of hands, a few nodded heads? It was offered, I think, the first year when you all were eligible to take it. It's been run by Dr. Eileen Rosenberg here, and I've had the honor of directing it at Yale School of Medicine for over 20 years. The course was developed by Dr. Rachel Naomi Remen, a pediatric hematologist at UCSF, and a celebrated author of books such as Kitchen Table Wisdom and My Grandfather's Blessings. And in one of the modules for this course, she references the temples of Asclepius in Greece. Asclepius was the god of healing. And these temples are actually considered the earliest Western medical schools and were described in Cicero's writings. The temples were 5 buildings arrayed in a circle at the top of a hill. People came from all over the known world to study healing, to be healed, to teach healing. And Remen says that in his description of the temples of Asclepius, Cicero noted that in the inner courtyard around which these 5 buildings were arranged, there stood a statue of not Asclepius, the god of healing, but of Aphrodite, the goddess of love. So even then, it was recognized that medicine is an act of love. It's not just an intellectual activity. It's an activity of the heart, an endeavor of the heart. And with that special love, that's how we serve our patients. Indeed, in our own times, Dr. Elizabeth Kubler-Ross has said, the ultimate lesson is learning how to love and be loved unconditionally. So what does it mean to be graduating from Love School, QU Netter Love School? I love the sound of that. It means doing the right thing. It means keeping the patient at the center, caring for mind, body, spirit. It means giving voice to your compassion. Perhaps you remember the mnemonic for empathic communication that you learned in first year. Nurse the emotion, right? Name, understand, respect, and support. When you do that, the tips of your patient's shoulders will drop. When you do that, your patient will literally say, I feel better already. When you do that, your patient might even say, I feel like I hit lotto. So this is how we love. And in order to do that, we also care for ourselves and care for each other in order to have a long and healthy career. I want to shift for just a moment to a phenomenon that can get in the way of this kind of love, and that's the phenomenon of imposter syndrome. The Oxford Dictionary, for those of you who have no idea what I'm talking about, defines imposter syndrome as the persistent inability to believe that one's success is deserved or has been legitimately achieved as a result of one's own efforts or skills. Just a kind of a private show of hands, anybody in the graduating class have you ever experienced this syndrome, imposter syndrome? Several hands, thank goodness, because I thought it was just me, and to be perfectly honest, I'm experiencing it right now. And the voice back here that says, if they only knew, you'd be out on your ear. Right? That voice has been with me for a long time. And after all these years, that voice has still not gone away. But over time, through a lot of work, I've learned to recognize that voice. I call him the judge. And to say, hello, Judge. Oh, I know you, old friend. You're here again. Well, I'm not going to listen to you today. I have better things to do. So that voice may never leave you, but you need not listen to it. You need not believe what he or she or they say. You need not attend to it. And it can be disabling. And if I could, I'd sit next to each of you. It would take too much time. And I'd look into your eyes, and maybe I'd even hold your face in my hands. And I'd say to you, you are enough. You were made for this. You were. We need you. You. And so, since I don't have the time to do this, I'd like you each to turn to a classmate and take turns saying to each other, you are enough, and you were made for this. Please go ahead. I'll wait. Thank you for indulging me. So back to the case. My patient had his colonoscopy at age 53. And unfortunately, at 20 centimeters, there was an adenocarcinoma. And when they snared that polyp, there were positive margins. And the MRI, thankfully, showed no radiographic evidence of spread. So we've set him up with an oncologic surgeon who's going to do a partial colectomy any day now. And of course, modern medicine will claim a lot of credit for the saving of his life, because indeed we expect this procedure to be curative. The pathologist who read the slides, the radiologist who interpreted the MRI, the surgeon who will perform the surgery, and the anesthesiologist who will make it painless. But in addition to all that modern medicine, the medicine of love, the medicine of patient-centered communication, resulted in this cancer being discovered at a curable stage, and that brings me no small measure of pride and comfort. So let me end with a blessing. I think old folks get to do this. Feel free to gently close your eyes or look down or do whatever feels right. Here's the blessing. May you know that you are loved. May you understand that you are enough. May you feel in your bones that you were made for this. May your life be lived in the service of your patients and each other. May the joy, that caring for the other, the joy that comes from caring for others, be yours. Your patients will be fortunate to have you as their doctor. Amen. And thank you very, very much for this honor.
Well, I know I speak on behalf of our entire community when I thank you for those inspiring words. And I also share, because you couldn't participate in the exercise, you are more than enough. Thank you so much. It's now my pleasure to welcome Dr. Rainu Boatwright, our interim assistant dean for student affairs at our Love School, to the podium.
It's my pleasure to invite Drs. Luba Quinnipiac and Dr. Listy Thomas to the front for the hooding ceremony. And marshals, please direct the candidates for the Doctorate of Medicine degree to the platform. Alexander Aaron Achenbach. Alex Achenbach is the recipient of the Excellent Performance in a Required Clinical Clerkship, Emergency Medicine. Christy Anderson. Miguel Arasa. Christopher James Boyle. Christopher Boyle is the recipient of the Excellent Performance in a Required Clinical Clerkship, Psychiatry. Allison Christine Bradley. Allison Bradley is the recipient of the Gerald R. Berg, MD Service Award. Matthew Bradford Buck. Matthew Buck will be hooded by his uncle, Dr. Rudolph Fellin. Emma C. Calcagno. Allison Lee Camisa. Laura Ashley Cantu. Christopher Michael Cape. Benjamin Capuano. Jose Gregorio Castro Alonso. Ludmilla Chandler. Ransom Chin. Ransom Chin will be hooded by his father, Dr. Mark Chin. Jamal Noor Chowdhury. Safwat Chowdhury. Laura Clayton. Laura Clayton is the recipient of the Academy of Family Physicians, Dr. David and Arthur Schumann Award. Andrew Stephen Connor. Christopher Joseph Costa. Christopher Costa is the recipient of the Connecticut American College of Physicians Internal Medicine Award. Shelby Elizabeth Cuddeback. Chanel Rose D'Alessio. Chanel D'Alessio is the recipient of the Dean's Leadership Award. Emily Rachel Daigle. Igor Dombrowski. Ian Russell Drew. Ian Drew is the recipient of the Excellent Performance in Required Clinical Clerkship, Internal Medicine. Emily Lillian Edwards. Emily Edwards is the recipient of the Excellence in Public Health Award from the United States Public Health Service Physician Professional Advisory Committee. Sheila Egbali. Sheila Egbali is the recipient of the Excellent Performance in Required Clinical Clerkship, Family Medicine. Gabriel Allen Ellison. Gabriel Ellison will be hooded by his father, Dr. Wesley Ellison. Salvatore Carlo Felici. Taylor Webb Frazier. Taylor Frazier is the recipient of the Connecticut Academy of Family Physicians Annual Student Award. J. Matthew George. Elizabeth Jean George. Jillian Giblin. Kyle Albert Glose. Austin Gonzalez. Callie Wells Greco. Jennifer Lee Hansen. Jenny Hansen will be hooded by her stepfather, Dr. David Clark. Stephen Andrew Hardy. Jacob James Jones. Jacob Jones will be hooded by his father-in-law, Dr. Gregory Fiascanaro. Karthik Kanamala. Jason K. Karimi. Linda Kirandi. Linda will be hooded by her father and her brother, Dr. Henry and Alan Kirandi. Ryan Christopher King. Margaret Landreneau. Sarah Macy Lawler. Alyssa Kim Lincolnheil. Alexa Beth Lisovic. Alexa Lisovic is the recipient of the Excellent Performance in Required Clinical Clerkship, Surgery. Amanda Anissa Lopez. Robert Mitchell Lucan. Deshna Majmudar. Michael Ryan Mancini. Mike Mancini will be hooded by his sister-in-law, Dr. Nicole Bergward. Dana Alexandra Mikesel. Dana Mikesel is the recipient of the Excellent Performance in Required Clinical Clerkship for Obstetrics and Gynecology. Angela Camille Mirabella. Aisha Manga Kravitz. Catherine Calhoun Murphy. Aaron Lee Murphy. Matthew David Nankin. Matt Nankin is the recipient of Excellence Performance in Required Clinical Clerkship, Critical Care. Nathaniel Isaac Novak. Nabiha Naruzaman. Samuel Omolaja Oduwali. Paige Orlovsky. Veronica Martins Pereira. Rose McLean Pitkin. Rose Pitkin is the recipient of the Excellent Performance in Required Clinical Clerkship, Pediatrics. Rose will be hooded by her partner and QU Netter alum class of 2021, Dr. Lane Keating. Zahra Saifuddin Kayumi. Kimberly Ann Marcus Rabidou. Shanika Miranda Reynolds. Sarah Maria Richards. Edward John Richardson. Ed Richardson will be hooded by his father and his grandfather, Doctors Paul Richardson and Theodore Krawiak. Brianna Nicole Robinson. Frank Joseph Salamoni. Chetan Sari. Beatrice Selene Senesak. Selene will be hooded by her sister and also QU Netter graduate, class of 2020, Dr. Natalie Rezan Senesak. Anusha Shah. Anusha will be hooded by her sister, Dr. Arpita Shah. Brian Shim. Leo Brian Shimonovich. Amanda Anderson Samard. Amanda Samard is the recipient of the Leonard Toe Humanism Award. Shivani Sinha. Shivani Sinha will be hooded by her father, Dr. Sanjay Sinha. Janardhan Sai Sivapalan. Patrick A. Smith. Jeremy James St. Thomas. Brian Christopher Stackhouse. Miriam Ann Statz. Virginia Tan. Kayla D. Vasilakis. Mohammed Wali. Olivia Erin Way. Haley Paige Wyatt. Caris Victoria Winter. Helen Zhao. I'd now like to read the names of the graduates who are celebrating virtually. Jacob Jorge Michael Dennis. Elena Creditor. Michelle R. Mayers. Matthew Jerome Pearson. Akshatha Rao. Eva Sophia Rostanix. Aaron Abraham Bentley Smith. Congratulations. Oh, sorry. Mary Elizabeth Traglia.
I ask the candidates to rise. Madam President, I have the honor to present from the Frank H. Netter School of Medicine candidates for the degree of Doctor of Medicine.
Thank you, Dean Boiselle. By the power vested in me by the Board of Trustees, I hereby confer upon you the degree of Doctor of Medicine. With all of the rights and privileges pertaining thereto. Congratulations from the heart from all of us.
And I am now going to officially decree this a love fest, Commencement 2022. It's now my distinct pleasure to welcome Dr. Linda Carandi, Class of 2022, to give remarks on behalf of the entire class.
Hi, everyone. Thank you. Hi, everyone. Welcome to our distinguished guests, faculty, staff, Board of Trustees, and most importantly, my fellow graduates. When reflecting on these past 4 years, the word that kept replaying in my head over and over is community. It has been said, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Psychology has debated for years, nature versus nurture. And I grew up on the African fundamental belief that it takes a village. And one of our proverbs, Ubuntu, translates to, I am because we are. All of these sentiments boil down to the idea that who we are is a product of who we surround ourselves with. So to the class of 2022, whether this journey has been all you desired or not at all what you expected, or maybe you even felt like you crawled to the finish line, despite the distance and the path it took to get there, you made it, and most importantly, you didn't do it alone. These letters behind your name are the culmination of your efforts and the product of what happens when people believe in you. You probably had to explain to your family why you had to take yet another step exam. And then as an M4, you explained the match process to your family more times than you can count. And even then, they probably still didn't get it. Regardless, they stood by you. So these past few weeks, I asked my classmates to tell me more about their community. Who helped them make it through on the days they felt like giving up? For Jenny, it was her family, including her mom, Ray Lee, her sister, AJ, and her niece, Isla, for being her cheerleaders. For Allison Camisa, it was her sister and best friends from college, sending her meal prep packages during exam weeks. For Sam, it was his wife, Kara, making sure he engaged in self-care tasks when he felt overwhelmed. And finally, to my own community, my family, my amazing partner, Edwin, my friends here at Netter, Nabiha, Jay, Safwa, Whitney, Satonye, Virginia, Steph, and Sheila. Thank you for always being there to remind me that I am not alone on this journey. Without you, I wouldn't be standing on this stage today. So on behalf of this class, thank you to all our friends, families, and partners who were understanding when we missed a birthday, extended compassion when we couldn't make the next big life event, and showed us grace for the 3-minute conversations on the way to classes and rotations. So join me in taking a minute to recognize those who helped you get where you are to this point. Those in the audience, those watching with us and celebrating with us virtually, we honor you. Thank you. So please join me in a round of applause for our families. Here at Netter, we've also been each other's communities. My classmates have held me literally and figuratively during moments in which thought I could not make it, and I believe that this is what will make them great doctors. The ability to make space for the emotions of their colleagues will translate well to their patients. We have not only helped each other through academic challenges, but life's greatest challenges as well. We have supported each other through failed exams, difficult patient encounters, and the losses of loved ones. And we celebrated together through engagements, marriages, and births. While life does not stop moving for medicine, we have reminded each other to stay still and hold space for who we are and what we love outside of medicine. Additionally, what makes this class such great doctors is their passion that extends beyond what is required. The COVID-19 pandemic was a great example of this. We were forced to redefine our communities when we physically could not be with our loved ones, and pushed to reimagine what it means to make meaningful connections and make a difference when we could no longer be of service in the clinical setting. Our classmates amazed me in the way they stepped up. Kyle worked to set up friendly calling so that elderly people felt less alone. Rose spent countless hours assisting in the loaves and fish pantry in New Haven to ensure that those experiencing food insecurity were served. Avi set up the Netter Volunteer Corps and helped to organize distribution of food and PPE. Never lose this passion. It will serve your patients well. As we begin this next chapter in our life, we will be once again asked to reshape our definition of community. As physicians, we will be given the immense privilege of being part of our patients' communities. While this is a great honor, I would be remiss not to mention the ways that medicine has hurt so many communities. From Black women slaves whose bodies were used for medical experimentation, the Tuskegee syphilis study, the forced sterilization of Indigenous women, and the Black maternal mortality crisis, medicine has and continues to inflict a lot of pain. For far too many individuals, racism, ableism, sexism, classism, and many more institutional and structural biases have negatively shaped and continue to shape the way we interact with the healthcare system. But looking around this room at all of you, I have hope. We must do better and work with the communities we serve. We must seek to erase labels such as difficult and non-compliant and take the extra time to figure out the patient's story. We must speak up when we see mistreatment. Our positions should be used to uplift the voices of those who are systemically silenced, as well as advocate for patients when their rights are threatened, as currently is happening now. On the days when it's the hardest, especially the days when it's the hardest, we must remember the quote, "The secret of good patient care lies in caring for the patient." We must recognize that the physician-patient alliance, therapeutic alliance, is not just a buzzword. It is a phrase that recognizes that patients deserve respect, autonomy, and to be heard, and we are best when we work together. We may know medicine, but patients know themselves, and we are never above learning. Thank you. The journey we're about to embark on is not easy. In fact, it might be one of the hardest things we ever do. So whether it's one of those weeks where you forget what day it is and seems all you have strength to do is just survive, or maybe it's a day when a patient smiles at you or a patient's family whispers the word thank you. Be present in all of these moments. They are part of the fabric of your story, and continue to lean into the people who have brought you here, and remember that someone's life has been improved because you are in it. Class of 2022, it has truly been a ride of a lifetime learning medicine with you. Thank you for being my community and allowing me the opportunity to be yours. I am so excited to see what you will do next, and may God bless the work of your hands. Congratulations, doctors, we did it.
Thank you, Dr. Karandi. It's now my pleasure to welcome back to the podium Dr. Luba Quinnipiac, our Senior Associate Dean for Education, who will lead us in the Hippocratic Oath.
Thank you, Dean Boiselle. I'd like to invite the class to stand and recite the Hippocratic Oath. I swear to fulfill, to the best of my ability and judgment, this covenant. I will respect the hard-won scientific gains of those physicians in whose steps I walk, and gladly share such knowledge as is mine with those who are to follow. I will apply, for the benefit of the sick, all measures that are required, avoiding those twin traps of overtreatment and therapeutic nihilism. I will remember that there is art to medicine as well as science, and that warmth, sympathy, and understanding may outweigh the surgeon's knife or the chemist's drug. I will not be ashamed to say, I know not, nor will I fail to call in my colleagues when the skills of another are needed for a patient's recovery. I will respect the privacy of my patients, for their problems are not disclosed to me that the world may know. Most especially must I tread with care in matters of life and death. If it is given to me to save a life, all thanks, but it may also be within my power to take a life. This awesome responsibility must be faced with great humbleness and the awareness of my own frailty. Above all, I must not play at God. I'll remember that I do not treat a fever chart, a cancerous growth, but a sick human being whose illness may affect the person's family and economic stability. My responsibility includes these related problems if I am to care adequately for the sick. I will prevent disease whenever I can, for prevention is preferable to cure. I will remember that I remain a member of society with special obligations to my fellow human beings, those sound of mind and body as well as the infirm. If I do not violate this oath, may I enjoy life and art, respected while I live and remembered with affection thereafter. May I always act so as to preserve the finest traditions of my calling, and may I long experience the joy of healing those who seek my help.
You may be seated. It's now my pleasure to welcome to the podium Gina Doherty, President of the QU Alumni Association Board, to deliver a welcome on behalf of the alumni.
Thank you. There's a lot up and down in this ceremony, so I'm going to ask all the graduates to please rise again. It is my honor to stand before you as a member of the class of 1994 and as president of Quinnipiac University's Alumni Board. I invite you to move your tassel to the left of your cap. This simple act signifies your transition from student to alumnus and the continuation of your unique, meaningful, and lifelong relationship with Quinnipiac. I'm especially pleased to have you all as fellow alumni. You are a Bobcat for life. Congratulations.
Once again, on behalf of our entire faculty and staff at the QU Netter School of Medicine, and more broadly, on behalf of Quinnipiac University, I'd like to congratulate the class of 2022 and all of their loved ones who are here today and who are behind the scenes supporting these students and new doctors as well. We conclude today, only our platform party will recess out of the arena. We invite our new graduates to go to the rear of the arena floor behind the stage for a class photo and to receive a class gift. You'll then be able to meet up with your families and loved ones. On behalf of President Olian, the faculty and staff at Netter School of Medicine, I again congratulate the class of 2022, and you are now our latest group of doctors from the School of Medicine. We're so proud of you, and I know you're going to go forth and do great things. Please stand for the recessional.